Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Hold on, let me pull it up first and see what's going on. Check 1 2. 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 Check 1 2.
Hey guys, Vamp's stream died, his computer died. Oh, mute that YouTube stream. I was getting feedback. Sean. What feedback am I getting? Never mind, I'm an idiot. Alright guys, sorry, I'm stupid. So Vamp's computer died, but I wanted to run through a couple quick analyses, just go over a couple basics, and then one minor thing, another one or two minor things about the group. I know after we got cut off, Chris showed you the website and stuff, but we'll run through like a couple things, just 20, 30 minutes tops, a few things that we didn't get a chance to squeeze in. Give it a couple more minutes. So, Chon, did you retweet my tweet about it? All right, good. Let's see if Vamp did too. Just want to make sure we get as many people, and I don't want to wait for 20 minutes for people to join, but if it's a few minutes. And Jomo the Homo is here. Sweet. All right, we got 30 people. Anybody else coming? Well, we'll just run through it because if anybody isn't here yet, they can join in. Or they could watch it after. They could just, play it back. So, let's do this. You better not have changed your fucking Discord name. I will end you, bro. People change their Discord names. It screws up everything for the group. Yeah, we got like 36 people. All right, we'll just get started. Anybody who comes in later can watch the playback. This stream will be up for playback. So let's just do a quick test since I'm taking over with the dual stream. It sounds like everybody can hear me on the YouTube stream. Chon, speak. I want to make sure the guys can hear you too.
Hey guys, how's it going? Everybody hear me okay?
Anybody in YouTube chat window can confirm that you can hear Jonas as well.
Check 1 2. How's everybody doing tonight?
All right, you can hear both of us? All right, sweet. All right, cool. So we had Jonas's analysis. I kind of missed that. I started talking about stuff before we got cut off. So I was talking about how I had a couple longer-term BTC analyses that went exceptionally well, and when that happens, I like to revisit it. So even though I don't normally focus on longer-term BTC stuff, since I'm mostly an altcoin swing trader and day trader, but I also do a lot of long-term stuff. I have some amazing long-term trades right now that I don't want to share publicly yet. I'm waiting for a couple things and it's some more information, more research I want to do, but we'll get into it pretty soon. But my thinking was I wanted to go back and look at my old analysis. I cleared off. You can see what it looked like before. I told you how I don't delete stuff from my charts because I like to go back and use that data later on. This is one of my main BTC charts. So you think Vamp's charts are bad? You have no idea, guys. There we go. Now that's a gem. So looking back at my older analyses, I went down to this one specifically because there was less stuff to clean off. I want to just run through what I was thinking and then see what Chon thinks about it, if he thinks I'm on the right track, because I didn't actually hear what he was saying his analysis was. So we have a pretty strong support right there. It's 76.95, right in that area. So normally what I would do, I want to look at the fib, so I'm going to do a quick fib retracement. It doesn't have to be perfect, just to get a rough idea. So when I was looking at this earlier, I was like, you know what, that 618 at 7290 would be a perfect target to continue a quick retrace down before we get into that next wave up. But I want to do two things. I want to explain my logic here and then show you what we're capable of on this next wave up. You got to be careful. It might cause uncontrollable erections across the board because it's pretty insane, but let me show you. So finding the bottom here before we get into the next real run. A couple things I'm looking at. RSI is extremely low. When you're getting into that oversold territory, you can see an explosive rebound move, and it very rarely gets that low. BTC hasn't been quite this low in a while. It got pretty close down here, and of course we were in a period where we were getting kind of plummeted, and we didn't really get the upward momentum that we needed to keep going. I originally thought this was going to be that major 1 and a 2 retrace. So right now I'm thinking, ideally, in a bullish scenario, it's not atypical to have a 3A2 or even a 50% fair retracement before you get into that wave 3. More likely in a stable market or in a neutral or bearish market, it's not uncommon to retrace all the way to the 786. I don't think that's going to happen. If we do keep going down, I think we stop at the 618 and move up from 7290. However, it is possible, given the strength of the support here at 7700, that we can actually bounce here and get some momentum moving back up. So I'm not sure if Chon has covered that in his quick BTC analysis. Is that what you were thinking roughly on what we could see here? Either we continue off of this bounce here based off of this support, and you can see this support goes back quite a while. It was a major resistance over here, even a lot of resistance on the way up, and then major resistance even further back than that. Were you thinking roughly the same thing?
There's significant history, like exactly today or yeah.
Your audio was cutting out again.
I'm literally right eating the microphone. Is that any better?
Just go. It's not too bad.
Let me see if I can do anything. Voice defaults.
It's like every fifth word, so it's not like it's not too bad.
So yeah, the amount of history had $1,000 area. Let me see if I can turn up the volume here. Default. Was basically what I was saying in terms of not just the price action here, but basically the fact that Bitcoin had found resistance, turned support back to resistance so many times at the 8K level, and when it was able to break through, 9K has been that so tremendous support area. So now that it's failed to hold, this was that next move, and because we get these nuke candles every once in a while that blow through all of our EMAs and some of the shorter term moving averages and basically peg oscillators down to zero. It's these historic higher time frame areas of price history that become more important. Today's price action is an example of that.
Yeah. So you agree that it's very, very possible. It's not in any way outside the realm of possibility that we could actually keep holding here and move up from here?
I think this is the area where you definitely could see that based on where we've seen this reject previously and then allow our Bitcoin price to move forward. The problem with what we have here is that we've lost so much momentum in the market that these, I don't want to say a V bottom bounce because I really don't see a bottom bounce yet, are really what's needed to kind of propel us to an uptrend that can last us more than a couple days here. So the bear is hurt, the bear is weak, but on higher time frames, we're able to see some slightly oversold conditions that should give some of a respite to recuperate. The problem is, now that the market has felt that Bitcoin at 9K is no longer a strong support, if we're able to trickle up there and retest it, it's now going to be that major resistance area that is going to be much harder for the bulls to break through this time.
Yeah, given how hard we came through that 9K, I feel like we could pretty easily push back across it on the way back up. So that's definitely an optimistic sign. Okay, so my overall thinking, and this is kind of stems from my original longer term BTC analysis, which again was the most accurate BTC model I had ever come up with, so I was particularly proud of it. But what I liked most about it wasn't even this initial run. I had called like 8 months in advance. I had said low fours, and then I said like 5 months in advance, 3 to 4K, and then maybe 3 months in advance in June or July last year. I said 32.80 was actually my exact bottom call, and I was pretty damn close. I was $100 off. So I was feeling pretty confident. And then I dove in after we first started moving back up and did a longer term analysis. And I took us up over 10K when nobody else was thinking that was possible. And that went perfectly. So my longer term analyses on BTC have been pretty on point lately. I don't focus on it too much, but when I'm hitting 2, 3, 4 amazing analyses in a row on BTC, which again is not common for me. Usually I'm not that accurate doing the longer term stuff. It builds my confidence. And since that model held so well so far, I'm going to draw you the continuation of it just to show you what's possible. I can show you my videos from like 6 months ago where I drew out this exact scenario that we go up. I originally thought was only going to be 10K. I thought we were going to hit 10, come back down to 6, 7, and then get into wave 3. Off the bottom here, so if this entire run all the way up to 14K was wave 1, a lot of you who know my trading style know what I'm going to say. I'm looking right now immediately, and I want to see exactly what that next wave 3 can do. And if we go to the most common target for that wave 3 as a 1618 extension, just to give you an idea, let's assume for a second this is bottom. We could say we were to retrace all the way to the 786. We could draw it that way too, but it's going to be a negligible difference because that 1618 extension right now, if we push into that wave 3, is going to be 25K. So this might not be the bottom before the super run. We might not go right into the moonshot. It might take 2, 3, 4, 5 months. We might have to go all the way back to 6K. I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but what I want you guys to understand is that when it does happen, we are going to skyrocket directly to between $22,000 and $30,000. And that's actually, if we're that bullish and we move in such a parabolic way as we did 2 years ago, we could actually see it exceed that and go far beyond a 1618 extension, even up to a 2618 extension territory. But that's something that you would expect when you get into mass adoption territory. Depending on how the timeline works out, the next halvening for BTC could become relevant around that time. Looking at next year, it's next year, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your thoughts on that because next May is that a lot of that will also have a factor of mining profitability where now the miners are going to get half the BTC reward per block. So that reward has to be worthwhile for their cost. So BTC needs to maintain a certain price point or else the miners at that point would be losing money mining. And that in turn adds more of an inherent value to Bitcoin as a whole.
Yeah, and that's why the past scenarios have always, all the past halvenings have always resulted in massive runs for that exact reason. So
BTC has been in an uptrend as we approach the halvening. Doesn't mean we can still drop significantly over, but as we get closer to May, the more bullish I can become long term, no matter what the price action of the time is showing.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to push up off of here, or if we were to keep dropping down and pushed off of that 786, and that's the final bottom, which again, I think we actually could hold on this support here. I mean, the 618 is not that far off at 7,300. Beyond that, the 786 is the next target. But regardless, when we do push, the main point I'm trying to convey to you guys is that this entire run from the bottom until now, from the last 7 or 8 months, has just been wave 1. That's just the first motive wave of this big impulse. So if you go zoom all the way out, and you can see the run from 2017 and do a much longer term Elliott wave count, but one of the things I'll teach you guys if you're going to be in the group, and I focus on this a lot, I always tell people that Elliott wave doesn't predict what's going to happen. Some idiots on Twitter will say, oh, Elliott wave's a joke. I want to see one Elliott wave count that predicted it perfectly. I'm like, dude, first of all, I actually have some EW counts that were pretty amazingly precise, but that's not what it's for. It's a visual representation of what we already know, right? So what did I show you here? I showed you I can anticipate this being a potential bottom for a retrace. So this is all wave 1, and that's wave 2. Now, even if you don't even know what LA waves are, forget about LA wave theory. We have a run up, retrace, and this is the most likely target for the retrace. Then we're going to go into another run. I'm not necessarily calling it a wave 3. Pretend, again, Elliott wave doesn't exist. I still know that after that initial run and a retrace, the next run usually results in a target of about 1.618 extension is the most common target for that third run, right? After the first move up, then a correction, and the next move usually goes to 161.8%. That's the most common target. So forget about Elliott wave necessarily. It doesn't have to be termed a wave 3. Regardless of that, just looking at the fib extension alone, you can anticipate our next run taking us all the way up to 25K, and it could go far beyond that. So if you needed something to be bullish about long term, you can't get more bullish than that. So overall, regardless of when we finally do bottom, we have some insanely bullish scenarios to look forward to. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. Everybody who's in this community now who missed out on the run in 2017, you're now the veterans. You guys are the OGs, and all the people that flood into the market are going to be just like we were when we came in 2017 and 2018. We didn't get in early enough, and we looked at those guys as the geniuses who got in early and got rich. We're now those geniuses who are in early who are going to be looked at that way when the noobs flood into the market again. And keep in mind, not a lot of people have entered this market. We did, but all of our friends didn't. None of my family didn't. Barely any of my friends did. There are so many people who still haven't gotten in, and once BTC starts pushing up to 19K again, all those people are going to go haywire, just like we all did 2 years ago. So that's my longer-term outlook on BTC. I don't want to dive too much into the majors right now, because since I focus mostly on alts anyway. Now, since we did have a nice solid retrace here with this big dump that took us down pretty hard across the board on all the alts, some of the longer-term alts, the more fundamental-based trades I've been analyzing and accumulating, actually did exceptionally well. They did 15, 20, 30% on Bitcoin during that sell-off, which was great. I was able to gain some Bitcoin. But since we've bottomed, at least with the short-term bottom, I was able to get into some sick trades. So let me show you. I shared this with the group. Everybody who's in the group saw this trade. I said I want to be aggressive with my SL. Given what we just saw with this big dump, I got to be careful. I want to maintain and preserve my capital. So I entered right here, and I moved my stop loss up. As soon as we got that first break up, I moved my stop loss up to just below my entry price. So it's almost a risk-free trade at that point, because the worst thing that could happen is I get stopped out right around my entry and I pretty much break even. It's a little below my entry because I wanted to give more space below the bottom of those two candles. But right now, it's a risk-free trade as it is. I haven't moved my stop loss up again yet, but I will. So right now, I am up 8.5%. Everybody who's in Flux Trading Group who saw this trade and got into it with me is also up 8.5% right now. So on a day like this, when everybody's getting destroyed, to get into an 8.5% winning trade is pretty phenomenal, especially considering that when we actually entered this trade, nothing else had turned green. Nothing else had bounced yet. Link was the only thing that I identified a bullish scenario on, and it's paying off dividends right now. So beyond Link, I also shared a few others with the group. I'll show you them now. I just got into ICX not long ago, just like an hour ago. I feel like certain coins, you'll know as you gain more experience, lag behind others. So ICX can make really strong moves, but Link is obviously one that leads the pack because people more aggressively trade it. So I'm in ICX now. I think it could totally make a similar move. I'm in Quantum. I think that can make a similar move. I got in a bit lower as soon as we broke this prior short-term resistance, which you can see these two candles got rejected right at that same level. So I figured, all right, 160 is a perfect spot to enter. So as soon as we broke that resistance, or right at that resistance, I entered. I'm up a couple percent now. Not enough to move my stop loss up, but as soon as we push up above the prior top of this candle right here, I'll move my stop loss up to my entry price. One of the major things that I will be teaching in Flux University for people who are in my earlier group in Vader University, I would teach all of my different strategies. One of the most important things I teach, again, is risk management, and one of my techniques is utilizing stop losses religiously. Every single trade I ever get into, it could be a day trade, a swing trade, it could be a scalp, unless it's a long-term hold, I'm going to have a stop loss that maintains a maximum potential risk of 1 to 3%, sometimes less than 1%. So in this scenario, it's a little bit on the riskier side because I have 3% risk. I like the trades where I have 1.5%, 1.75% risk. But either way, as soon as we break up above that prior top on this hourly candle, this stop loss moves up and it becomes a risk-free trade. I can't possibly lose any money. So that's Quantum, and then I also got into XLM. Very similar position. I just recently got into XLM. I think it could also lag and follow behind Link. We're seeing a lot of vaults starting to make solid moves up, and those two haven't yet. The other one I was going to get into was BAT. I just didn't feel like the entry was right. If we push up and get to this prior resistance right there at 1656. If we break that, I might enter and then place my stop loss just below that resistance, because you can see it was a really strong support on that hourly, a really strong resistance on that hourly, strong resistance on this hourly, and we've been hovering right around there ever since. So if we can break that with some force, I'll probably want to enter on BAT as well. That's it for the alts I'm in right now. I just wanted to quickly run through those, especially Link. Anybody who got into Link with me, move up my stop loss now just to show you. So we have the main support that we're working with is the one at 179.46 right there. So I'm going to set my stop loss, especially since we've already broken the cloud and a couple of the EMAs. We actually broke all the EMAs because the 222 is right here as well. So we actually have all 5 each of my dynamic supports below the current price. Normally I would want to wait for this candle to close, but there's still 20 minutes left on it. So I'm going to move my stop loss up right now actually to below this support. So I'm going to lock in a guaranteed 4.25% profit. So no matter what happens, I made 4.25%. And if it pushes up higher and breaks that resistance over here, 7, I'll probably move my stop loss up again to below the EMAs, lock in a little bit more profit. You know what? Give me 20 seconds just to set that. I want to make sure I get that order, my stop loss spot.
Excellent, yeah.
All right. Once I do this, I'm multitasking. All right. So in addition to that, that covers it for any of my my alts that I currently have going. I don't have a lot of them going. For some of the longer term alts that I'm working on that the group is aware of, they have insane potential. Anybody who's not in the group, I will share it with you guys too. But we're looking at some major long-term breakout potential on a couple coins. So I will queue in everybody on Twitter and everybody who's not in the group, probably in a week or two, depending on how things play out with these trades. But everybody in the group, if you're in now, you couldn't be in a better position. All right, we're good on that order. All right, last 2 things. I wanted to see if anybody had any questions. Just explain the one last thing, because a couple people DM'd me about this during and towards the end of the last stream. So I know Vamp had briefly mentioned it on the the end of his stream. So I will show you the same thing for anybody who didn't catch what he was explaining. I have to add the Cryptomus section on here, but you can go right down and select basic or premium for the packages for the group, or you could subscribe to the bot. The bot is not included in the group. It's completely separate. So you cannot get the bot included if you're in the group, but if you go to the memberships page, you'll see the breakdown of everything that's included, basic versus premium. And if you have any questions beyond that, you could hit us up in the public chat. We're free to answer any questions you guys have. So hopefully that explains everything for the group side of things. This includes every channel that's in, and then the bot down here. Again, I explained it in the beginning of the last stream, but Tech, who built the bot, is opening up channels to share a whole bunch of stuff with you guys, to explain how things work, or to share prior calls so you guys can back test it on your own. So let's take maybe 5 minutes. Anybody have any questions, either about the group or just about our analysis? Any questions you have about that stuff? We have like 5 minutes. Feel free to ask. Use the YouTube chat, but if anybody's in the group and you guys have any questions that you'd like us to address, use our premium only chat, and we'll use that as you guys will get priority if you have any questions. Any questions besides who's the top and who's the bottom with me and Vamp? No questions? You guys already know everything? All right, fine. What's my favorite color? Smartasses. What was my bar mitzvah date? Yeah, see, you guys don't know everything. Thought so. I thought you guys just stand. Oh, huh. All right, nobody has any crypto-related questions? Or group-related questions? take on Ethereum. All right, well, I'm borderline not going to answer your question because you spelled my name with an I. As far as I'm concerned, that's like calling a black person the N word. That's the most offensive thing you could ever say to me. You know, it's kind of funny because, like, if I'm at like a store or something, like if they type in my name to pull up my account and I hear them type JESSIE, if I hear that extra keystroke, I'm like, please tell me you didn't just put an I in my name. It's pretty funny. Well, so, all right. I'm not. I just talked about BTC, so and I haven't really looked at ETH recently, so I don't want to go over it. I could probably look at it and maybe do a chart and put a chart together for you guys later. But I haven't done an ETH chart in days at this point, so I'm not up to speed enough. I'd have to kind of start from scratch on it. It would take too much time. But with BTC, like I explained, this really has the potential to be a solid bottom that we can bounce off of. So this could potentially be an excellent scenario where you might want to get in. I'm just not doing it because I want to get some more momentum before I consider it. We had this huge sell-off spike in volume, extremely oversold on the RSI. So I think there's a lot of potential here, but there's no reason to rush it. Like I could buy in right now, but why not just wait till I get above a couple more supports? As a lot of you guys who are newer to the group will learn as I teach you my strategies who aren't familiar, I focus almost entirely on support and resistance before anything else. So I have my Ichima model with the dynamic support and resistance, but also horizontal supports and fibs. Look at this. Check out the support and resistance we have right here at 87.62. That is a major resistance. These are each hourly candles. So if you were to pull down a 15-minute or a 5-minute chart, you're probably going to have 15 or 20 candles that are getting rejected off of that 87.62 resistance, right? So it'd be silly to buy in now. On the other hand, you could use that to your advantage. If we push up right here and you were to have some orders set to enter, you could even do a stop limit buy order, right? So if the price breaks 88.20, then set a limit order to buy at 88.75. And that way, even if you're not sitting in front of your computer, you'll still be able to enter on that breakout. Because once you get above this resistance, what happens to a resistance? A strong resistance, when it becomes a support, it becomes a strong support. As soon as you break it, that's going to be a key support. So in theory, if you were to be able to get an entry right above the breaking of this, you can then set your stop loss. So if you were to set in a buy order at 88.60, right there, right? God damn it. There we go. So about 88.60, if you set your buy right there and it gets filled, you can set your stop loss at like 2.2% below your entry. So it's a very, very small risk. 2.2%, unless you're dealing with a very large amount of capital, isn't going to be a particularly risky trade. You're not putting that much capital on the table. It adds up if you get, 10 or 20 of them in a row, but 2 or 3 trades losing 2% isn't the end of the world. If you can get in right there and then use it to your advantage, that strong support is now protecting your stop loss. Given how strong it was as a resistance for this bounce, getting back above it, that would be an ideal trade. In fact, I might actually do that. I was thinking I might want to wait and see if we could push back up and start retesting the hourly EMAs again, but if we get above this support, this resistance right here, I might do it purely because that'll be such a strong support to protect my stop loss. All I need is a 2 or 3% move up. If I get in at 88.60 and then it pushes up another 2% to about 9K, I can move my stop loss right up to my entry price. Now it's a risk-free trade. I can't possibly take a loss. That's the way I would play BTC on a short-term basis right now. I don't have any input as far as a longer-term trade. I don't usually trade BTC longer-term, but unless we're in a pretty big bullish trend. But that's what I would do short-term. What do you think, Chon? Makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I personally that this isn't the greatest buying opportunity in Bitcoin. Obviously, over the days to come, this can be proven to be a tremendous buying opportunity in the low to mid $8,000 range. I'm not convinced for several reasons, and I'm a big fan of candlestick analysis. And there's nothing yet on either the Heikin-Ashi candles, the way we closed out our daily candle with a very minuscule lower wick, the oscillators and higher time frames are still low, but have running room. And when they get down to the low areas, first time after being so high for a while on the dank herb, that basically you get this kind of like a mini bounce, and then you get that lower low again, or that kind of retest of the oscillator. So this is an area where I could see, okay, we're going to stabilize. We're going to allow tremendously oversold conditions on lower time frames to kind of level out. The RSI on the that's the CMF. The RSI on the 15-minute was down at 3. Okay, so we were getting into crazy, ridiculously oversold conditions on low time frames, and it was just due for a bounce. And when it started to bounce, the bots and the algorithm started to kick in, and literally you got an $800 kickback in Bitcoin on these like 15-minute candles we had this afternoon. So that basically, if you were still in a short from over 10K, you would have had to have basically absorbed an $800 of profit taken away, on paper at least, kind of taken away before it's kind of settled down there. So we tend to see that a lot in leverage markets like crypto, where the exchanges, it behooves them to basically get those higher leverage traders out of their trades and kind of rebalance the market there. So by seeing those wicks there, I don't see it as a bounce because there's a good support. The market can decide it again about buying Bitcoin in the 8K range. I more see it as computer algos basically taking advantage of oversold conditions and stopping out a lot of those higher leverage shorts before they can basically choose if they want to reload or not.
I also have to take a look at the order books. I want to see what sort of orders are sitting down at 78.
Sure.
That was able to, because whatever buy order was down there, that wall ate up this dump. So there might still be a pretty large buy wall right there.
Yeah, and there was a lot of gaps. So there's your CME gap on the weekly that was open for weeks. The thing is, though, that still thinks for me that we have a better chance to go lower is just because on higher time frame, there's so many moving averages and notable support areas that haven't even been touched yet. Like the lower Bollinger is still under 8K. The MA 100 is at $7,700.
Do you have those
and then,
on a screenshot? Have you posted those in your section?
on Discord group.
Yeah, we don't have to do it on the stream, but
Yeah.
in a couple minutes, if you could just do a quick screenshot, as I want to see what you're talking about, the higher time frames with the
Sure.
the moving averages and the BBs. Just post a few of those in your BTC section, so everybody else, in addition to me, we could all see what you're talking about. That'd be cool. But this is exactly what I was saying before, everybody. I think this is awesome. Like, we have different strategies, different techniques, different skill levels, different skill areas, right? So I'm really good at these shorter term trades where I surgically enter and manage risk so precisely that I can get into a trade that a really good skilled analyst like Jonas might not think is ideal, but all I'm looking for is to break this short-term resistance. Given all those hourly candles getting bounced right off of that resistance, I have a pretty high confidence level that if we break that resistance, it will at least hold for a little while. If we end up going back down, that's fine, because what I do is I breaks that resistance, I enter, I set a low risk stop loss where I'm only exposing myself to 2.2% risk, and then as soon as we get up a little bit higher, I move my stop loss up, and it's a risk-free trade. At that point, who cares? Once my stop loss is at my entry, I can't take a loss. So it's win-win at that point. There's no way I can take a loss. I can only win if it does continue breaking up, But I really like the idea that Chung can say, well, from higher time frames, you're looking at this and that, which is different than what I'm looking at, but we can get different types of opinions that either we get confluence where we agree, which would really increase my confidence level, or I can get an entirely different perspective that I don't usually think of. I love it. I'm super excited for that sort of shit. So thanks for that.
Yeah, and it's also important to understand when I talk about higher time. If I'm looking at a higher chart, I'm also thinking about a higher time frame trade. So if I'm referring to a weekly chart or a monthly chart, I'm not talking about a scalp play. I'm not talking about. So I'm talking about basically a bias that I can set in my head that says to me, maybe we're oversold, maybe we've broken a meaningful supports, and we tend to do a back test of areas that have been support, and are now acting as resistance. But overall, the higher time frames are telling me that we have a lot more running room downside before I feel more meaningful support areas are tested and will be given the opportunity to show them as more meaningful support. And more importantly, to show a candle pattern, either a dual candle pattern on the daily or the weekly, some sort of a tweezer bottom, a Heikin-Ashi doji reversal candle, which will give me more of a sign that says, okay, this is now the retracement of this 2019 bull market is slowly coming to an end based on these higher time frames, and I can set a more bias for a more bullish market. Because in a bullish market, you can feel a lot more confident buying the dip, uh, 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 marking historic areas of support that tend to hold, and then riding those all the way up until this moving average breaks, middle Bollinger breaks, etc., cloud support breaks. I'm going to hold my bias as bullish. And right now, the bears are pushing that to the extreme here. Yes, there's a glimmer of bullishness for sure on higher time frames, but because we went so bullish so quickly, the retracement can be just that, a very meaningful retracement. And the lower we go, the more, as I said earlier in our last show, the lower we go and the closer we get to the May happening, the more overall bullish I can become to Bitcoin specific.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so everybody can see on the screen, I just locked in 6% on my link trade. If we keep pushing up this aggressively, I might move it up and lock in some additional profit. If you really need to make every penny you can because you lost a lot today, you can sell right now for 10.8% profit. That could be great. Me personally, I would rather be a little bit conservative but still aggressive. So I've locked in a guaranteed 6%. My stop loss is now up here at 181 and change. I can't. The worst case scenario, I make 6% profit, and if we keep pushing up, I'm going to lock in more. So that's an important update. I just posted that to the group as well. And then the last thing was somebody was asking about my earlier BTC trade. And this is what I was saying, where somebody on Twitter was like, oh, LOL, nice trade, bro, or something. I'm like, dude, I risked 2.5% right at the bottom of a trend line support in that triangle. Pretty much everybody thought we'd get a short-term bounce, at least a little bit for like 5-8%. But it broke through and it tanked. And then it went exactly to where we had been expecting for months, ever since Vamp and I were on a much earlier stream like 2 months ago, 8,500 gap. So it worked out pretty well. But this was my trade before. I didn't switch to a short. I didn't hedge. I didn't have a long and a short together. I just had my long where I was risking a couple percent right on the bottom of that trend line. The support failed. I got the stop. I actually took a little bit less trade. It wasn't 2.5. It was more like where it was 93. I don't know, whatever. It was under 2%, just under 2% risk. So I took a tiny loss. It's an insignificant amount, obviously. So that was my earlier trade on BTC that I got stopped. Where my everything went exactly as it should. My stop loss triggered and all that good stuff. So, all right, that's it. Nobody else has any questions about the group? Anything important about the group? I don't want to go over any more charts. We both got to get off. All right. You mind going over that? Anybody? I'll go over the link thing again. I'll let Jonas get off the call, but I can run through the link one more time. Anybody have any questions about the group, though? About what we're doing, how we're teaching stuff, and how everything's laid out, what sort of work we're doing in the group. Any questions about that? 10-second warning. Best group ever. That's true. That is a good question and a good answer. All right, Sean, I'll let you go. I'm just going to show this one guy wanted to see that link entry again, so I'm just going to do another quick 1 minute run through on that.
Sure. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.
All right, peace.
Later. All right, let me give you a quick review of that. So, for those who missed earlier, and all these live streams, so we're going to be doing public live streams for like 10, 20 minutes, 4 or 5 days a week probably. And then after that, we'll move into just with the private group. The premium group only gets the live stream stuff. You can see how closely we interact with members. It's really time consuming. Nobody else in other groups don't do that sort of direct interaction and educational stuff. It is really time consuming, but we're all dedicated to it. We love to do it. But we can't do live streams with everybody in public. You know, it's just way too intense to work with the team that closely for that long, and involve that many outsiders, unfortunately. But we'll involve everybody for a quick review. So really quick, I talked about Link, how we had gotten the initial bounce, and I didn't want to enter. I wanted to see if we could build a little momentum first. After the initial big solid candle moving really hard up, we got into that next candle, which again remained bullish. That candle was still looking good. It was holding pretty well. It looked like we were getting a little momentum. I pulled down to the 15-minute. You can see it a little bit more. I was able to identify a nice trend forming, right? So that was a pretty strong bullish trend, that many 15-minute green candles in a row, or bullish trend confirming candles in a row. And then we came back down ever so slightly, and I was like, you know what, this is the perfect time to enter because it's sitting right on a support right now. I did. We went up, came back, tested the same support. We've been going straight up ever since. After that retest of that support, I moved my stop loss up, so I only had like 0.25% at risk. And then as soon as we broke out above this prior top here, I moved my stop loss up to make it fully risk-free. And then once we started getting up into these areas and breaking those resistance levels, I moved my stop loss up to lock in more and more profit. Was that it? Or did you have something else about it you weren't sure on? Yeah, this Jomo said, Jomo the Homo said, I taught him more in a week than people ever have. You guys should see. I mean, I have twins. For those who don't know, I have 10-month-old twins. Before they were born, I would do 3 or 4 days a week. I was doing 3, 4, 5, 6-hour live streams where I would get up and make food and get a cup of coffee and come back. But for the most part, for 4 to 6 hours straight, any question, every topic, Fibonacci, Elliott wave, support and resistance, risk management, how to set orders on different exchanges. Like, we would get into everything. I was obsessed with it. And now we usually stick to streams that are an hour long, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours at the most. But I don't go that crazy anymore with the 3, 4, 5 hour long streams. But yeah, I still love doing this stuff. If you guys have anything you want to learn, if you're in premium, just tell me whatever the topic is. Between the three of us, one of us is going to have the skills to teach it to you. If you ask me to teach you candlesticks, right, how to trade based on candlesticks, I would not be the guy to do that. If anybody in my old group did that, all I would be able to do is refer them to a couple educational videos from other analysts. But now that I have this team, it's such an insane tool where I can say, hey, Vamp is a master at shorting. He's a master at bearish calls and margin trading and leverage trading. He can answer all those questions and teach you everything there is to know about it. And then if you want to learn about candlesticks, you talk to Chone. If you want to learn about support and resistance, short-term altcoin trades, you could talk to me. It's pretty insane. So I'm really excited to do this stuff. And if you guys ever have any questions, again, hit me up. And you can DM me anytime. Anybody's more than welcome to DM me. I will answer you. I will respond to you 24/7 without fail. And if you're in the premium group, for those who don't know, you can let me know. We can hop on a voice call and chat pretty much anytime if you have questions. So that's it. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. This is a really good first team stream. We can introduce the group to everybody. And we had a huge BTC dump, which allowed us to have a pretty cool discussion on analysis stuff, because we were able to analyze how Chris was able to predict that so insanely accurately, and how I failed on my bounce call for that BTC bounce. But again, killed it on my my alt trades. All right, guys. Thanks again for stopping by, and I will be in the group if you guys need me for the rest of the night. I'll be around for another hour or two. Thanks. Have a good night, guys.